So hi everybody, this is just going to be a voiceover type of video. I'm going in the mango shade, or in the shade mango, and I'm just going over the really dark areas underneath my eyes. This is just to help color correct my dark under eye area. So I'm just going in with the really light, like barely tapping into the product with the brush, just to help cover, because I don't want to have a lot of buildup of product in that area. Okay, so here I'm just adding more product, very little product with my finger, just to help kind of blend it in. Because sometimes with the brush I'm too heavy handed, so I leave brush strokes on underneath my eyes. So with my finger, it's easier to blend with my finger, so I'm just doing that here. Okay, so here I'm pretty much going in with my two contour shades, indigo and olive, and I like to mix these both. Now these are the new shades that I feel like work best for my skin tone. So I'm using both those shades as like a bronzer slash contour. You don't need to contour after this step, but later on in the video you'll see that I still do. But just doing those two shades, I think, does a really good warm bronzer, but also contours your face a little bit. So just depending on how dark you want, you just want to keep adding product. And I try to not swipe too much because of how blendable this makeup is. You can easily just blend your like application away. So that's one thing you want to keep a lookout for, is over blending. That's the beauty of this makeup, is it's so easy to blend. You can over blend. So if you do, and you'll see me kind of like going back and forth and adding more product, because I do over blend. And then in this clip here, you just see me use the color indigo to contour on its own without mixing olive with it. And it's such a pretty shade. It looks really intimidating in the pan because it is so dark, but it blends so nicely. And you can tell just in the clip here that it's not as dark as it looks like in the pan. Again, just blending it in, making sure there's no harsh lines. And then on my forehead, I almost like to make like an ombre effect, to help blend in with my next shade, which will probably be the highlight. But yeah, so that's my contour and bronzer. Okay, so here I am with wheat, and that's like my base shade. So my foundation shade. So I go in just to clean up my contour bronzer area. And again, tapping into the product, not so much swiping into the product, because it is super full coverage. So when we tap in, I'm just picking up very little product and then not putting too much product on my skin. So here I am just adding it to my under eyes, around kind of where I contoured and bronzed, on my upper lip, my nose, and then you'll see on my forehead in a little bit here. But wheat is my highlight, like, foundation shade. I really, really like it. It looks super yellow on the pan, but when it's on my skin, it looks really, really nice. It blends in with my neck. I don't look like I'm like 3 different colors. Okay, here just again blending to my forehead into that bronze and contour that I did. And then grabbing Sunlit as my concealer. This is the new shade that I started using as my concealer, so my brightening highlight. Again, adding underneath to my eyes. It looks like I'm adding a lot of product like right underneath where like my fine lines are on my eyes. I'm again just tapping into the product, not swiping, not picking up a lot of product, just barely tapping on there. And then adding to my nose, and I'll add to my forehead. But I realized when I originally got the palette, I was swiping into the product and I was picking up way too much product. So tap, tap, tap. That's like the rule of thumb. Tap in and you can build the product up. It's easier to work with. You can get a way nicer application that way. Just grabbing some more bronzer. I'm a bronzer freak. I just keep adding bronzer throughout the whole video. Like it almost fades a little bit. Or just overblend. Okay, so I'm using the Lip and Cheek in shade Nude, and this is what I use for my cheek. I love this color. The next color I want to try is Sandstone. I think it's like a deeper color than this one. And for my blush, I love to blend in with the perfecting sponge. This is a great way to add in product, and it will remove the excess product without and then it helps just not make you look cakey with all the product on it. So I again over blended with the blush and the perfecting sponge, so I added more bronzer and then adding more contour in the shade Indigo. But you can just easily see how just easy and blendable these are. So, and it's super easy to blend away, but it's also super easy to be heavy-handed. So just be careful, and then of course just practice makes perfect. If you're not used to working with creams like I am, this was all my first time using all creams and I love it. I prefer creams over liquids now because when I think back, I'm like, oh my god, how matte I was. But yeah, here I'm just setting. And then I don't know if you saw in the last clip there, I was using the perfecting sponge to kind of go over my under eye because I felt like I had applied a little bit too much product. So that perfecting sponge totally just removed that excess like mango shade, sunlit, and wheat shade. So it'll just pick up what you don't need and leave behind what you do. Unless you keep using the perfector sponge in the same spot, then it will totally remove all the product. But here I'm just setting my face with the Morphe setting powder in translucent. Just setting my face, adding very little powder except for like underneath like my contour, because I kind of like that to really stand out. And then whatever was left in the cap, I just of course use for the rest of my face. And I use a big powder brush to just kind of go over my contour, my bronzer, without setting it with actual bronzer because I didn't want to, I guess, distort the color of my contour and bronzer shade. And then here's like my little eyebrow routine. This is how I do my brows when I do them because I don't wear makeup every day. But this is in the shade Cold Brew from Morphe. I was using Mocha, but it was way too warm. I like a neutral color for my brows. It's just a lot of like swipe, swipe, blend, blend, swipe, swipe, blend, blend. Again, on the other eyebrow, I had just done my brows today. It had been like over a month that I did them. So they're nice and clean. So basically I just brush on my brows. And honestly, I've realized too with a lot of my clients when I do their brows and do a fill-in for their brows, they don't realize you can brush out your brows and like blend them out because when you draw them in, they're just way too dark. Brush them out, girl. You don't want Sharpie brow. I look like a cholita. Okay, so here I'm pretty much just curling my eyelashes. And you can see like on my right eye, well, that's not curled, my lashes go down. They're like straight, stick straight. So my trick, if you have eyelashes like this or just some that just aren't curly at all, start curling from the very tip of your eyelash and then curl all the way down to your base. So just kind of like in little pieces, curl all the way down to your base, and you'll curl them up that way. I personally use waterproof mascara. That's the only way my lashes will stay curled. And I learned that it's the beeswax inside of waterproof mascara that helps hold the curl. I could be wrong, but that's just what works for me. I know a lot of people are afraid of waterproof because it's hard to remove. But girl, get yourself an oil cleanser and you'll be fine. Just you got to work at it a little bit, but it removes all of it. And I never really worry about losing my eyelashes. Oil cleanser is a game changer. But pretty much that's just how I curl my eyelashes, and they stay curled all day unless it's like extremely humid and they kind of lose their curl. Or when we were wearing our masks constantly, my hot breath was straightening them out and they weren't holding a curl. So I guess just humidity, and if they get wet, for sure they fall flat. So I'm just kind of like I set my eyelids there, and then I'm going back into lip and cheek and adding it to my lip in the shade Nude. And then Wonderful Ernesto in the background. He wanted to make his debut. So I'm just adding Nude to my lip. And then I also thought just to use like my contour shade in Indigo on top, because I felt like Nude looked a little too like nude, like too much of my own lip color. So I just wanted to darken it up with Indigo so you can see how versatile these shades are. I use it to contour, but I also use it on my lips as a lippy. So just using Indigo to darken them up, but shade is the main color, and that's what I also use on my cheeks for blush. And then going into my illuminator in the shade Rose Gold. This illuminator is so pretty. Beautiful, beautiful. It's very natural and very buildable. So you can even add this to your skin like with no makeup on, and you'll look so healthy. Your skin will look super healthy. But I am a huge fan, even though I'm an oily skinned girl, I'm a huge fan of dewiness. I want to look oily all day because then it looks like I'm really healthy. So I just pack on the Rose Gold, add it to my lips, a little bit to my Cupid's bow. And then I do add some into my inner corners. Now I don't have any product on my eyelids. That's just my skin with no makeup on. I usually add a little bit of like bronzer, like powdered bronzer, to help match like my actual bronzer on my face. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna rock the naked eyelid. And I'm, of course, adding more contour. I swear, after using this makeup, you're going to be like a contour freak. I love the contour now. I never contoured before until I started using this makeup. Looking snatched. That's the finished look, guys. It's super natural. You still look put together. I hope you enjoyed.